Direct sun is why we have convertibles, but that's murder on leather. Pull the back cover off. Still in pretty good shape. Gotta reuse this. No hog rings, which is an advantage. Just this crossbar and these bolts. Pull the headrest. And we'll just do one piece at a time. Do the seat back first, then the bottom cushion. Alright, pull the knob off. Plastic kind of falls off. I'm going to leave the lower plastic on. These thread lock screws are a pain in the butt. We'll have to use heat to get them out. Keep the parts separated left and right. Recommend just doing one side at a time, but if not, label them because they're mirror images. Need a little bit of heat to get these bolts off. Kind of creepy, but if you got a pencil torch, now's the time to use it. Kind of creepy putting a flame around leather and horsehair pad, which is actually coconut. But I don't know of any other way to get these bolts out of here. Alright, there's that magic screw. Watch out, it's hot. You can see that blue thread lock on there, that royal pain in the butt. Want to get this thing good and hot. Melt that thread lock. Alright, she's loose. Got all the four screws out. You can do the rest on the car, but it's much easier if we move it over to the bench. Remove the clips that are holding the seat back restraint. These cables will pop right out. Alright, 4 screws and 2 cables. She's loose. Take it to the bench. Interesting clip. Just comes out like that. Disconnect the cable. Allows us to take this little chrome thing off. Put that in the box. Similarly, we want to pull this thing off. They're just press fit, I believe. Been in there for years. There, that comes off easily. Don't reroute the cable, but pull it in. Got a clean sheet there on the bench top because you don't want to get the new leather dirty. These old, this thing just peels right out. Alright, this is loose. Notice they use a little bit of glue here. I don't know if I'm going to glue the new one in, but it's always a good idea to note where glue was used. It's amazing how just a piece of cardboard will hold this leather so tightly. That's how they do it. Glue joints and the bottom piece. Alright, let's do it the easy way. Let's just cut it off. There's the old cardboard insert. Now we got to remove the plastic hog ring clips, which are here. There's 6 of them. And then there's a crossbar across the top. These clips just pop right out. Much better design than hog ring. Just twist it off. Pretty neat design. Upper backrest hooks. Put them in the left side box for later reinstallation. Except for a little bit of glue here. A lot of glue. Gosh. Smells great. Compare the new seat cover to the old. Same shape, same design. Same hooks. No need for hog ring here. These the threaded back hooks here. We're going to grease or oil any of the parts, now's the time to do it before you put new leather on there. The old pad seems to be in great shape. However, looks like a low spot here. I don't know if you can see it on video. So I just cut a piece of, kind of fill in the low spot. The other thing that gives me concern is this worn area. See this white backing, this white gauze compound allows the seat cover to slide easily, but the foam is very tacky. So I went to the upholstery store and bought some more of this white stuff. I don't even know what you call it. It's only $1 a yard. So I'm going to cover the whole thing in white stuff, so the new material will just slide over. I'm going to use the old seat cover as a template to mark the hole for the headrest hole. You know, Tops Online did a great job with these seat covers, but you might see their suggested marking is just a little bit different. Quadruple check your measurements because we want to make sure this, you cut a hole, it's in the right spot. It seems a shame to cut this beautiful piece of leather, but you gotta make holes. Alright, there's the hole. Notice I undercut the hole relative to the size of the flange because leather stretches nicely, so just let the leather stretch around the cut. Put the backing piece in. Nice tight fit. Alright, got the spacing right. Alright, nice and smooth. There's no place for the leather to hang up on foam. I was just going to warn you not to pull too hard on these cloth straps because they could break, and indeed this one did. Pull too hard. So now I have a sewing job. Just use a heavy upholstery thread along with a hook needle. And that will tighten it right back up. All fixed. Don't just pull that new leather seat cover down until you feel those cloth hooks lining up with the slots in the existing chair pad. They lined up nicely, so now it's just a matter of fishing them through the hole. I want to just make sure the cloth hook is around the plastic hog ring substitute. They hook in there nicely. Hard to see just because it's behind the rail. Next, insert the plastic clips through the existing holes. Put the hook through. Slide in the plastic hook retainer, nice and tight. Do that 6 times. Next one. All the, for lack of a better term, hog ring substitutes are in place. 6 total. A little liner. We'll leather down. Well, I have no clue which of the 4 sides I should put in first, so I'm just going to pick. I'll put the top J-clip in first. There's little clips behind here. I want to clear those. And that turns around nicely. Rawhide hammer. Just tap those in. This is where the back clips come in here. Squeeze in the bottom. Yep. That went together nicely. There. Nice even edge. No wrinkles. Now the sides. It folds over. You have enough leather to fold over. Alright, this should fold over and tuck into the channel. You can cut a hole for the handle. clip back in. Find the bolt holes. Back on. This screw really isn't necessary, but let's put it in. Alright, ready to put it back in the car. Old cover looks like it's in good shape inside, but the leather's dried out and cracked. Trash. Paint the exposed metal parts. Add a little more padding. This thing just much easier than the backs. Nice and smooth. There's a metal rod here from the old seat. Don't forget to pull that. And that's where you put your hog rings. This part here was glued. I might glue it again. Just use a bar clamp to compress the spring so it's easier to put the leather into the channels. Glue the ends, hog ring back. We appear to be getting some live music from next door. Go take a look. Hog ring.
Very dark oil. He said this oil is black. So I said, well, okay, so what? He says, well, you know, I can give you an oil change, but what's going to happen is that...
Nice and smooth.
I'm pulling up, and my daughter gets out of the car and goes, Mom, it's doing it.
Yeah.
And I get out, sure enough, the schnorr.
Use a copy of the EPC to get the bolts, nuts, washers all in the right spot. New nylon guides from Mercedes. Cheap fix for anybody with a loose seat. Some of these get worn out. Although the EPC lists all these parts, these nylon guides as the same, they're not. If you pull your seat out, you'll notice that some of the rails have this rubber spacer in them, which of course tightens it up, and the others do not. So I think there's 4 without spacers and or with them. Plus, there's a wider guide rail, which obviously prevents sideways movement of the seat, but there's only 2 of them. Just using white lithium grease to grease the entire track so it slides nicely. These are actually standard metric flathead Phillips M8 by 25 millimeter length, 1.25 pitch. You can get them at McMaster Car for 25 for 10 bucks. I went through the dealer and paid $1.50 each. Notice they didn't even include the dreaded blue thread lock compound. So to give the next guy that does this a fighting chance of getting this on or getting it off, I'm not going to thread lock these screws. I'm going to screw them in so they're nice and tight. Just check to make sure the seat back moves easily, because if you don't get the rods lined up exactly, it's not going to turn nicely. These need to be nice and tight. Reattaching the seat clamp. Make sure it's routed without interference. Clip goes right there. Done. Put the back on. I decided not to get a new back, but reuse the Brazil brown backing, because we can hardly ever see it and it's in great shape. This screw is totally unnecessary, but I should put it on. A lot easier to put the chrome pieces back on while the seat's on the bench top. Nice and tight. Installed. Seat removal is simple, just 6 10 millimeter bolts. 2 in the front, 4 in the back. Bolts. This little flange comes off both sides, and the seat pops out. I put an X on all the metal parts that are exposed, so when I pull these parts off later, I'm going to paint that area black. Once the 6 bolts are out, just wiggle the base and it comes right out. The old build sheet attached to the frame rail. Pull that. I'm going to yank the rails off, paying attention to this. There's a missing guide, nylon guide here. Here's something to notice for reassembly. These slightly fatter black colored plastic guides are both on the same side. Pull the spring. Spring 1. Pull off the old hog ring. Be sure to pull out the rod to use it on the next cover. Just pay attention to where they come off. This one has a red X, so it's going to go off to the paint shop. Easier to remove with the springs tied. Okay, it's the old crappy seat. Horsehair seems to be in good shape, even though it's not horsehair, it's some kind of coconut fiber. Add some padding. Using the white gauze to help the leather just slide across the pad. Alright, the J-clip is folded over. Just tap it in so it's nice and even all the way around. I'm going to use some contact cement. Just hog rig in the back. Not too tight. Hog ring. Removing the seats can be profitable. Paint if needed. These rails get a little corroded. Create your bolt holes.
I don't think my picture haven't even showered yet. Holy cow.
It was quite the rainstorm last night. New shoes. Pretty much friction fit. I'm going to glue the top ones on just so they don't slide off. A little bit of super glue. If you have these wider plastic guide rail pads, I discovered they both go on the same side, driver's inside, and face inward. There's an orientation to them. You don't want them facing outward. Once you get this back on, it's really hard to get the crossbar for the seat adjuster to come out the other end. So here's a job for your magnetic pickup tool. So you can thread it in there and grab it. There we go. So I don't have to pull the back off. It turns from the other side. Definitely easier to get the seat put together out of the car and put it in this one single unit. You might need to use your awl just to keep these holes lined up while you get the seat back adjusted. These plastic things are always falling off, so I'm using double-sided picture hanging tape to make sure it stays on. Just gotta wiggle the seat in. Everything works as it should. Back goes up and down nicely. Last item, attach the seat belt. This seat covering job is done. I picked a non-perforated leather from Tops Online, and of course the contrasting piping, which I think looks great. Next job, center console. Soaking for a couple of days in acetone. 500 grit. Sanding between coats.
Yesterday, the cost of the transition will be very large, and we will lose what are
Wood Mercedes shifter I got on eBay. Standard size hole. I'll make this a little more permanent when I put the wood console in. Make sure nothing left in the parts box, just the 4 pain in the ass screws. Use a 3M77, you can use any spray adhesive, I imagine. Just want it to stick good. Give it 30 seconds maybe. Spray both surfaces just to get a better stick. And as you can see, it sticks pretty nicely. That should smooth out any imperfections in the vinyl. Basically use the old rug for the template for the new vinyl. First aid kit. All done. Center console has 5 coats of polyurethane with 1 coat of sanding sealer underneath. Came out pretty nice using 500 grit paper. Brazil piping with saffron colored leather gives it a nice custom contrast. I used the non-perforated seating with a matching vinyl piece in the center console armrest, as well as a piece of vinyl on the back. Seats are nice and firm, particularly with the new back support. Center console came out good. Use that original piece. This whole project took about 2 days. Most of the time was spent in recording this video. For some reason it looks a little purple here, but that's a nice brown rug, which contrasts nicely with the Brazil piping and the new saffron leather. Took a long trip, about 200 miles today in the car show, and the seats were very comfortable even in the hot weather. The non-perforated leather did really well.